Hold on one second. Nancy, Craig, Bobby, Elizabeth, mm, Teresa. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yep, we're good.
All right then. Let us be to order. We need a motion to approve the minutes from our last meeting, February.
Yep, for February. Yep, because we did not have a quorum at the last meeting.
Correct. So I'm waiting. Is anybody
I'll make a
ready?
motion that we approve the minutes as presented.
Okay. Is Veronica here?
No, she's not here. I'm doing
You're
her
doing-
Okay, job.
Okay, that was William Bryden.
Second.
Yep, I got one. Who's second?
Craig?
Craig.
Craig.
Second.
Okay.
Okay, I guess all in favor say aye.
Aye.
I can't.
Aye.
All right.
Anybody that's against it, speak up.
Aye.
Otherwise, okay, we're unanimously approving the minutes. Any public people here?
I don't see any.
Okay, then we're on down to new business,
Jim,
and someone's going to tell
Jim.
us about a fire hydrant painting project.
Hold on one
Hey.
second.
hey, Jim, one second. I did want to introduce Mark Mazzone is here with Verily. He is public.
Oh, yeah.
He actually was supposed to be on the agenda for this month, and I see that he was not as a line item on the agenda. So Eris, I don't know. I know Veronica does the agenda. You guys do the agenda. So whenever you want to put him on for 5 minutes.
Yeah, I was gonna put him in your report.
Well, it's an action item, right? About if it requires a budget adjustment, if it comes to that.
Okay. Jim, do you have a problem if he go ahead and presents?
No, I've heard his presentation, or at least parts of it, over at WDI office.
Okay.
And so, yeah, I don't have an objection. Does doesn't look like we got a whole lot here tonight anyway. So go ahead, Mark.
Awesome.
Explain to those of us who don't know what it is that you do.
Sure. So thank you everyone for having me at the meeting. I appreciate the invite, and Jim and Eris and Holly. It's great to see you all again. For those who don't know me, my name is Mark Mazzone. I am the founder of a company called Verily. I'm actually up here currently in Jacksonville with some family, but what we are in totality is a complete employment search solution for the on-the-go job seeker. But what I'm going to talk about today and briefly is the Verily Vision component, which is a data and analytics reporting tool. I have like a really quick presentation. It's all of just a few slides to give some background on what it is, how it impacts, and the value of it. So if it's all right with those here, I can go ahead and do that.
Can you share your screen?
Absolutely. Can everybody see it?
Got it?
Okay, awesome. So like I said, the Verily Vision component is a data and reporting analytics tool. I've learned more recently about the MSD, what it does, its functions, and where it operates. I actually went to school at UNCW some time ago, and my National Guard unit I was in is actually on the backside of the airport. So anyone who's familiar with that, I know they built a brand new building actually for that. But really quick, like I said, we're a reporting and analytics tool. So call it data with a local and real impact. But the bigger question is like, well, so what? What we do is we take job, business, industry, and other data provided within a certain geographical area, in this case, the MSD, and any that is manually input, and we convert it into graphs, charts, and trends automatically. So you really have data analysis and visualization at the press of a button. But even more important than that is, well, what's the benefit to the MSD? So as I've talked with Holly quite a bit, small business, growing it, that's the core for economic development. And really the benefit is it's current, accurate, and available data leads to more sound decisions for jobs, commerce, and the community. Those decisions, driven by data and guided by the MSD, lead to increased tax revenue, increased jobs, higher business retention, and greater economic impact in the district. So you have growth in every metric. And of course, I'll take questions at the end. The people who are impacted most, of course, are employers operating within the MSD, whether it's a small business, nonprofit, any other organizations. You have job seekers who are actually impacted that are looking for work within the area. And also it impacts government, business, and organizational decision makers. And I'll go into how it impacts them now. So for employers, they receive support from the MSD to drive traffic and growth for their business based on data-driven trends and reporting. In short, if you look on something like Google Maps, for instance, what I learned, like kind of doing some research, is there are a lot of businesses within the MSD that don't have Google Map listings. If you have a Google Map listing, that means people have access to you. That access means searchability. Searchability turns into foot traffic in the business, which of course leads to revenue, more tax generation, and so on. It also means for the employers, they make better and faster hiring decisions to support their operations based on reports provided by the MSD, but it's also driven by the data that the employers themselves provide to the MSD that's analyzed and visualized as a result. For job seekers, they'll have access to more work opportunities thanks to a growing number of employers that have open positions within the MSD. And then also they'll benefit from better hiring decisions and timelines, thanks to the businesses having a more accurate picture of their own and surrounding hiring trends and hiring needs. And again, that's all driven by data that's provided by the businesses, absorbed by the MSD, and then turned into reports and any sort of other analysis. And then finally, for the decision makers, whether it's at the city level, at the, the decision makers can track, analyze, and visualize the trends over time in employment in the industries that operate within the MSD and the types of businesses also in the MSD. That in turn drives policy decisions as a result of the trend analyses, which have local, immediate, and direct impacts to employers and job seekers alike. So really you have three factions that are impacted directly. And for the decision makers, all this data, while it might seem like a lot, can be aggregated, synthesized, and visualized in a very simple, easy, and direct way. And then of course, that's going to drive some policy decisions that can be made in ordinances at the local level. And then finally, what does it cost? If you look at any other sort of comparable platform that aggregates a lot of data, usually there's a lot of footwork involved. Those platforms charge anywhere from $15,000 to $30,000 a year for a single license and other certain packages that come with it. But for us, especially given the MSD will be sort of a pilot, the max we're looking at is to not exceed 12 grand a year. It could actually be lower than that. But if user growth increases, of course, that's going to drive something like server cost because we have to manage the traffic. Also, it's going to include the infrastructure, some support, and as well as a single license or account, which of course, whoever is going to be responsible for managing it will have access to that. And something to keep in mind as the MSD grows, if it grows, that means in turn more users, which of course will drive cost of servers. But outside of that, from what I understand, especially about the 488-ish or so businesses that have been captured by the county and provided in a spreadsheet, that number shouldn't change a whole lot, but of course, growth is good. So we're looking forward to that number going up because that's going to be a larger benefit with the MSD as a whole. And of course, if there are any special features that are requested, that requires, of course, an additional labor and technology costs. But that's kind of short, sweet, to the point as far as what we provide. But it is going to be a very robust tool. And we believe, especially in discussions, that there's a lot of value to it, and that from what programs are going to be out there, especially for the MSD, that there's a lot they can leverage to benefit the small businesses, employers, and other organizations in that area. And questions if you have it.
Ed, Mark?
Yes, sir.
Any questions for Mark?
Questions, but I just wanted to kind of put this in context. So Mark and I, he mentioned that we had been meeting several times. I originally met Mark and we started talking about, he was talking about his software IT background and focus on metrics and some of those things. And I was telling him that we really, one of the things that I wanted to bring to the MSD was more metrics. While we have great metrics, I think, provided by the ambassadors block by block, they're reporting on, how many linear feet of pressure washing we do and how many stickers are removed and, a graffiti and all of those things, which are great tracking tools. What we don't have is the businesses that are paying into this MSD, that are paying this tax, how many of them are touched, are met with each year? What are the trends? What are the hiring trends? It hasn't, it hasn't been as scientific as I would like. And I think going forward, it would be great for us to be able to have, as part of our outreach, we do have we have Alex in our office that is 70% of his salary is paid by the MSD and 30% by WDI. The 70% that is MSD is about outreach to these businesses. And so my vision for us, and not to use Mark's verily vision word, but to say vision just one more time, my vision for the MSD is that we are providing a service to these businesses, and not just to the ones on Front Street and half of Second. I mean, Front and Princess or whatever. We've been very limited, I think, in our in being methodical about making sure that we are reaching out to all of the businesses within the MSD, and that each year that we are, tracking kind of the trends and the concerns, and providing that feedback and that resource for them. And so that's how we kind of got to this point. Was we were looking for, and I see Tom Davis has joined us too, and I was talking to Tom about this a little bit. We were looking for some kind of solution, to manage that process, where instead of just, our outreach being to the first floor in our building, for instance, there are other businesses within the building that may have never seen an MSD ambassador and may not know what services the MSD provides. And I really would like to see that change, so that we do track with the businesses. And as Mark said, that they are all on Google Maps, and they all have the benefit of, they see a tangible benefit to belonging to the MSD. So that's kind of how we got to where we are, Eris and I. So I met with Jim and then with Eris, with Mark. And so Eris had said that, Mark, whenever he did his presentation, needed to provide a not to exceed amount. And Eris charged me with looking into our budget to see, what our budget numbers look like. And I can tell you that we have over $21,000 still in our marketing budget line item for this fiscal year. And so we do still have, another month to go, but I think we can afford it. That the being able to put it into the budget is not the question. It's the appetite and what the council believes is the right thing to do for the MSD. And, again, this doesn't have to be Holly's idea, or, I think it needs to be an advisory council. That's what you're for, is to advise on how you think the MSD can be made better. And this is just a suggestion that I had based upon my conversations with Mark, but I wanted to bring it to the group, see what you thought, and if you wanted to do anything differently than we're doing now.
I think this is one of those opportunities that, we've questioned, when we can see our MSD dollars and how we can see them as individuals. This is one of those opportunities, by working to start using data-driven analytics, is a way that we can do that. And Holly and Mark, correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like once it's going to take a minute to build up the database and that type of information. But when a business comes, or somebody comes to WDI looking for location, looking for information, you have the ability to really give them a response based on data, not just, oh, I thought such and such was there, or I thought they moved out when, or I thought they did this. So I think by having that, and right now we've been basically using, what ambassadors can capture as they walk around, and what we see as far as, just with our visual eyes. We don't, we used to have a business permitting system that would give us the ability to capture data, but we don't have that anymore. You used to have a privilege license. We don't have that anymore. So this is an opportunity that we can capture information about businesses and be able to build that data and use that for decisions that we're able to make downtown.
I had a couple of questions.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Okay, Mark, thank you for your presentation. I'd never heard of your company, but I did look them up today, and it seems that you're only 2.5 years old, I think. Maybe a little more, a few more months than that. But I'm wondering what other cities that you have used this analytical procedure that you're describing to us. Is there a track record? And have you used it with any MSD funds in any other city?
No, those are good questions. We've been building our core platform, the Verily Jobs platform, over quite a while. I was living in Maryland for a long time and came back to North Carolina to essentially bring this back home. Also, the fact that I'm helping kind of take care of family makes that work a lot better. But the Wilmington's MSD would be our first. Actually, they're going to be our pilot. So everything we're doing here is we're really going to see what fits the best, but also the early adopters like Wilmington also get it at a much much lower price. So we get to grow with the MSD and build this out. So the short answer to your question is no, we don't have a track record, but that's why we want to start with Wilmington as our core, as our pilot, to get that going.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Any other questions for Mark?
This is Clark. Real quickly, I like what I'm hearing. This data is, everybody asks us for data. I think this is a great opportunity to pull that data from something other than a reactive response. It's going to be proactive. I certainly suggest we move forward with this. If there has to be a vote, I would vote that way. If there has to be a vote, I do have to leave in a few minutes. So I'd love to be a part of that vote if it's required.
Anyone
Clark,
else?
there would need to be a vote to make this adjustment. Based on your budget, I'm not sure that we need to actually do a budget adjustment. This would be making an adjustment to your budget, but I don't know that and that sounds crazy, right? This is making an adjustment this is making an adjustment to your budget, but I don't know if a budget adjustment will be required. Gosh, that should sound crazy, but that's just the reality.
More than happy to take more questions, but if once we're finished with the questions, I'd make that motion that we accept that, or we make that adjustment.
I'd like some more information.
Clark.
I'd like I'm more visual. I need to read some information. I saw the little couple of flip charts that you did today, and I didn't learn much from the website, but if you have a presentation, like a package or something that I could mull through and get a better handle on. I understand that we do need data and all of that, but I just would like to see something more official or in a package or presentation visually.
I will say, and I think certainly the council can take as much time with this as they want. I mean, we obviously at WDI and the city, Eris and I have talked about the need for better data. We want to do it sooner rather than later. But I understand that Mark has also done for both Jim and Eris longer presentations. I didn't want him to I didn't think anybody had 30 or 45 minutes or an hour for a longer PowerPoint presentation. He does have data and a more extensive PowerPoint that he can share with the group. I think that's fine. I don't, certainly don't want to rush anything, but at the same time, as Clark said, we get those requests at WDI all the time for people about data with our businesses, and to have that data, it's a helpful tool rather than just in the past we've had spreadsheets, and it's our business visits are much less rigorous.
And also that data is coming from a third party. And I think that adds some validity to that data.
Well, we have a motion from Clark. Is there a second to that?
Second.
John?
Yep.
Get that, Eris?
Motion by Clark, second by John.
Are we ready to
Chair,
take
what
a vote?
exactly is the motion? I'm sorry, that we're gonna,
Really?
Say, come back with your motion there, Clark.
I made a motion that we make the adjustment to the budget to allow the expenditure of $12,000 to Verily to gather this information for the next year, right? This is a 12-month program.
Yes, sir.
and we would allocate the 12,000 and not, and just to be clear, from the budget, we're reallocating 12,000 from what?
It would
I
be from the
heard
marketing line that, yeah, it's from the marketing line that we already have.
Okay, and did we have any anticipated expenditure for that with regards to that? Were we anticipating spending that on anything else? I mean, what was the other, what are we foregoing by reallocating this?
Yeah, we had substantial savings in our personnel budget line item. We also had on our ratepayer newsletters, we've talked about doing those electronically instead of doing printed newsletters. That was about $5,000. So we've got some savings in the budget that have allowed us to have additional money, but it is under the marketing line item. And
So much?
Are you saying something, Tom?
Nope.
You didn't come through.
I didn't come through. No. I didn't say anything, Jim.
Oh, okay, you lit up.
Thought it was Teresa that was speaking though.
Mhm.
No,
It was.
no, thank you
yeah.
guys. No, I appreciate that additional commentary.
Okay. So we have a
All right,
motion,
have a-
second.
We have a motion and a second. Are we ready to take a vote on this? Anybody think it's too soon? Are you ready to go ahead with it?
I think it's too soon.
Okay. Well, we do have the motion and the second, so we're going to go ahead and take a vote. Is there a way here to, can't we raise our hands or something with this?
Well, let me call the list and then we'll know who did it, okay?
There we go. Yeah.
Kathy Luna,
Yes.
okay? William Braden,
Yes.
John Sneed,
Yes.
Craig Stinson,
Yes.
Tom Davis,
Aye, yes.
Nancy Bullock,
No.
Bobby Hamilbar,
Albert.
Yes. Yes.
okay? Clark,
Yes.
Elizabeth,
Yes.
Teresa,
Yes.
Jim.
Yes.
All right,
We go, whatever the number is, we got one no and the rest were yes.
yes,
So the motion passes. We don't
yes.
have to go through a second reading and all that, do we here? This is not a
No.
legal, this is just we're sending some advice on. All right. Thank you, Mark. Thank you, Holly, for bringing this up. And
Thank you, Jim. I appreciate it. And Nancy, I just wanted to let you know, we will send you additional information. I want to make sure that everybody's comfortable with this. We're certainly just trying to make the MSD better. And, you know, I whatever we can do to try to do that, we're going to do. So I'll send you some follow-up information.
Thank you. It was just kind of brief, and we usually agonize over every penny that we've got with the MSD, and just within 5 minutes spend $12,000. I felt like we didn't agonize enough. So,
Yeah, I'm trying to take the
send me some
agony out.
please.
I feel like taking the agony out is part of my job. I got to look for ways to make this a little bit less painful.
Anyway, thank you for anything extra you can send me.
we still got this fire hydrant hanging around out there. Who's going to take care of that?
Yep, that's my job.
right.
In this year's proposed budget, we are looking to paint the fire hydrants. The city was looking for resources and they appropriated $3,000 to paint the fire hydrants within the MSD. I think it's 164. That number kind of stands out in my mind. But this funds will be used to repaint all the hydrants because the budget had to proceed as, you know, in the schedule it was. I wanted to at least bring it up to you, that you guys at least have the opportunity to have some input as it moves forward, or be aware of this. So that's what that item is.
What color are they going to paint them?
I guess red. I have no idea. I don't know that they had a designated color. I guess there's certain standard colors. I'm not sure. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I had a similar question. I didn't know if it was refurbishing them or if it was like an arts type project, whether we're going to do something creative with it. That was going to be a question that I
No.
had.
This is just the standard, whatever their standard painting of the hydrants are. This is nothing artistic. Sorry.
When the city and the county consolidated their water and sewer systems, there was an item which had to do with the maintenance of the fire hydrants throughout the city and I guess the county. And there was I can't remember, there was a decision made as to who was gonna, as a part of the negotiation between the two. My recollection is there was a specific agreement that is where that was going to be funded. Would you just check with, I don't know, the city attorney or city manager and make sure they're not putting something off on us that it's already been agreed by another part of the government to be taken care of?
Okay. Do you have any idea when this was done?
Yeah, in 2008. That's when
2000.
the authority kicked off, and it was up a year or so before then. The negotiations took place. For an example, CFPUA collects the trash fees for the city. That was a part of the negotiation. Nothing to do with water, but the authority does that as a part of that negotiation. Somewhere in there was the whole thing about the maintenance of the fire hydrants. Just if you would get maybe the city clerk, someone to go back and root that out, because there was a decision made of some sort.
Okay.
Okay, is that all we had to do with the fire hydrants?
Yes.
All right then. I see Stephanie is here. And she's got a report from the police or not?
I do. How's everybody doing?
Great.
What I've done for this year, since we were pretty much shut down at the beginning of 2020, is I've brought stats for 2019, 2020, and 2021. Because the percentages are going to look a little outrageous, as you will see. Let me see if I can flip my camera. Figure out how. There it is. See if I can get this lined up. Did that work?
Nope.
There we go.
Yeah.
Okay. Can you see the stats? I can't see it on my little screen. Let me see if I can do. All right, if you guys can see it, I'm going to work it off my monitor. So for the Central Business District, just looking for April, the month of April, comparing April 2019 to 2021, we had a total of 16 Part 1 crimes. This year, we've got a total of 17 Part 1 crimes, which is an 18% increase. But you can see in 2020, we just had like 4 crimes, 3 burglaries and 3 larcenies. Let me switch over to the year to date. So what that means is we're comparing January through April and January to April. So in 2019, we had a total of 50 Part 1 crimes. We are down to 38 in 2021. We did have 45 in 2020, so we are down in both. If we're comparing 2020 to 2021, we're down 16%. And that's for the central business district. For the whole of downtown, if we start with year to date, so looking at January through April, in 2019, we had 64 Part 1 crimes, and this year we have 58 with the, and then in 2020, we actually had 63 year to date, and we're down 8%. But if we look April to April, just comparing April and April, we have 2019, it was 20, and we're right on track for that. We had 20 in 2021, but that's up from last year, which was only 11. So that's showing an 82% increase. But really, if we compare suitable years where everything's open, it's more like a 0% increase for that. Any questions on that? But we're going to expect increases in crime just because we're going through that shutdown. So I'm expecting a little bit of an increase, hopefully not much. That's why I kind of want to compare it to 2019. Questions?
Stephanie, what are type 1 crimes?
So Part 1 crimes are, this is the old system. It's just easier because I think these are the crimes we're more interested in. Part 1 crimes include murder, rape, robbery, aggravated assaults. Those do not include misdemeanor assaults, burglary, larceny, motor vehicle theft, and arson. But now we're in NIBRS, which like takes into so many other crimes. And I can show you that would include misdemeanor assaults. So if I look at that one, in 2019, we had 29 in the CBD for April and 36 this year. And then for the year, we had 112 overall NIBRS crimes, which includes like counterfeit, forgery, drug offenses, embezzlement, fraud, gambling, human trafficking, kidnapping, pornography, property damage. It just adds so many more crimes for reporting. But again, that was for the year was 112 for 2019 and 91 for the year this year. So we're down. And then last year we reported 98 crimes. So either way for the year, we are still decreasing our crimes. And then for downtown with all those crimes, 2019 we had 41. This year we have 47, but last year we only had 22. And for the year was 157 for 2019, 135 for this year, and then 139 comparing to last year. So overall, we are down percentage wise, but again, I would maybe expect a little bit of an increase. We can't keep going. I would love to keep decreasing crime, but I think at some point we got a plateau and then we're just going to jump up and down through the years. I think we've done a good job so far. I like to see the negative numbers, but I'm expecting at some point there's going to be some fluctuation between whether crime goes up or down. But as long as it's not a significant jump in numbers, but I'll keep an eye on that. Any other questions?
Yes, Stephanie, you made a differentiation between downtown and the whole of downtown.
Uh-huh.
What did you mean? Or the central, the CBD, and then the whole of downtown?
Well, I thought I understood that myself until I saw a map of, so I might have to get that clarified. So I always thought that CBD was like 3rd Street to the river, which it's still, that might be what our stats is incorporating. And I thought downtown was like, we cover 5th to the river. So let me clarify, because I see a map of the CBD and I think that includes either 4th or 5th Street as well. So let me get some clarification. I'm sorry?
It's 4th, Stephanie.
Okay, well then that's a difference. We're adding a half a street on 5th Avenue to those stats. So we have the west side of 5th Avenue, and then the east side of 5th Avenue is District 1. It's not, Downtown Task Force does not cover it. So it's just adding a half a street to the numbers, it looks like.
All right, any questions for Stephanie?
Yes,
I'm just-
Stephanie?
Yes, ma'am.
What's going on at the county parking deck with the homeless?
The county parking deck is about to, there's, somebody's doing renovations. I need to get a little bit more information. My understanding is the Gray Street project is going to fence off that area, so that should minimize the issues that are going over there, but it's county property, so that's county jurisdiction. I believe Holly Childs and their group has reached out to the county, if I'm understanding correctly, and I think there's been some improvement. But it's really something, it's county property, and we're trying to get them to help us manage that as much as we can. I can't trespass people off county property, unfortunately.
Gotcha.
So-
Holly, is that in the Storybook Park? Is this where they're hanging out? I'm trying
Yeah,
to.
so
Okay.
Nancy, unfortunately, we've been having some problems with Storybook Park, but also just those benches right at the corner of 3rd and Grace, that area right there, kind of in, you know, before you get to that parking lot that's adjacent to the parking deck area, that area. And you know, part of that is that there have been there's been a history, and you know, certainly I don't have a lot of history myself, right? I've only been here 4 months, but there is, from what I understand, there's been a long history of the feeding groups feeding that area.
Yeah.
And so because that has been the practice, it's also created some issues with littering, among other things, littering, open drug use, open containers, you know, lots of additional things that are going on. So you'll see in the ambassador's report, and I know the MSD report was included with your packets, and I'm sure you guys don't read those cover to cover every month. I wouldn't expect you to, but in the MSD reports, you'll see that we have had some issues recently. And so as Lieutenant Boucher said, I am speaking with the Continuum of Care folks on the 25th, I think it is, it's next week, about how we might better manage things there. I know that there are a lot of factors, right? Because you know, religious right to practice and be able to feed folks and all that. And I get that. But, you know, as I told Lieutenant Boucher, I feel like cleanliness is next to godliness. And if they're going to stay there and feed them, then they need to clean up after the mess. Because we've been having problems with our ambassadors being able to keep up with all of that, all of the litter, as well as we did have one of our ambassadors was his dustpan, you know, was taken away from him by one of the homeless folks. And so I just feel there's, you know, some aggressive behavior that's going on. It may be the heat and the change of seasons, but we need to get some things need to be addressed for sure.
I did read the packet and did see that we'd asked the ambassadors to stop going to that corner, and just wondered what it was. I forgot that it was county property though.
Yeah, it is county property, and I know Lieutenant Boucher works hard to work with the county on trying. They have a joint task force, I understand, is joint group that tries to, you know, manage that site. But you know, it's certainly not a crime to be homeless, but it is to be aggressive and to, you know, impact other people. And so what we don't want to do is put our MSD ambassadors in harm's way in any way. So until that's rectified a bit, I have agreed completely with James Slay in keeping the ambassadors out of that area.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Yeah, our officers are still monitoring, so it's not that we're taking a step back. It's just that our hands are tied as far as what enforcement, especially our day shift officers, because I don't have a county day shift deputy to help monitor that property. So at night it's a little bit easier, but during the day it's a little bit of a challenge. But we are trying to, you know, talk to the people that hang out there and get some compliance with cleanliness and, you know, behavior that's going on there. So we're working on it. We're not ignoring it. I just wanted to let you know that we're not ignoring the problem. We just have to figure out how to work together to fix the issues that we're having out there.
Thanks.
Yep.
Thanks, Stephanie. Holly, you have anything further for WDI?
I have a question for Stephanie. I just wondering the status of the police blue light program.
So we have implemented our police blue light program, we've done a little bit of a compromise. So on day shift, you'll see the blue lights on. At night, you will see the blue lights on when the officers are doing roving patrol. Because we know more crimes occur at night, and sometimes we want to be in stealth mode trying to find suspicious vehicles or whatever. But for the most part, day shift will have the lights on. They're back. On night shift, it will be if they're doing like a roving patrol, business check. But downtown, you should see the lights on for the most part. Maybe not much at night, but if they're doing roving, they should be on.
Great. I think it was effective. Thank you.
Yeah, it is. Yes, no problem.
Okay, so Holly, the question was, did you have anything further? You're on the agenda here.
I'm on the agenda, so I might as well have something further, right?
Not
So-
necessarily. You.
No. I would just add to what Lieutenant Boucher said about Project Grace. It is moving forward. As you probably know, on March 15th, the Board of Commissioners unanimously approved to move forward with Project Grace. So currently where that is, they have been doing needs assessment. They had a 60-day period that started on that March 15th date of revisiting the space analysis they did a little over 2 years ago with the Cape Fear Museum and the Public Library to see, what spaces were needed, what spaces could be shared between the groups, trying to kind of figure out that space plan and uses first. Now, a new factor, but I think a positive for the project is that the Children's Museum is also asking to come into the project, asking to come into Project Grace. So that'll make another, public use, another way to kind of put those uses together where they have access to parking and shared spaces, common spaces. So anyway, that is in process now. July design will start on the project. So there'll start to be some renderings and some actual design. None of that has been completed yet, just pending all of the space planning and the moving parts. And then towards the end of the year, November, December, the development agreement will be finished up and will be presented hopefully by the end of the year to the Board of Commissioners for consideration. So then the idea that the current schedule is to start construction on that in spring. So Lieutenant Boucher is correct in that if we get to spring and there's a construction start, then hopefully there will be some fencing and some limitations to access to that block area where people are just hanging out. But that will be about an 18-month to 24-month construction period. So, look for Project Grace to be built as this public project end of 23, early 24. So it 6 years in the making, but that's largely because it was set back 2 or 3 years and there was a lot of planning. But I think it's going to be a better project for it. Those things just always take time. I think, it's exciting. It's great. It's going to be a great block for the city. So Project Grace, that's that. The only other thing that I would like to mention, a couple of things. One is our microloan program. I mentioned that before. We have, and so I'm always trying to create disciples for our microloan program to go out and tell people that they're available. It's up to $20,000 for up to 5 years for small businesses within downtown and the adjacent districts. So, Cargo District, South Front, North Side, et cetera, kind of the what we call the emerging districts around downtown. It's not an MSD program, it's a WDI program. So we've kind of extended it out a little further than the MSD limits. But what we'd like to do is make sure to help directly small businesses with this loan program, which is at 3/4 prime. So that's 2.44% fixed. They have first 6 months, no repayment on the loan. And so we feel like this is a good shot in the arm to help people as they're trying to come out of COVID and regroup. The program's been very successful. We just started on March 29th and we've already closed 4 loans. We've got 2 more in the hopper. So, I would say to encourage people to take advantage of that if you know companies that should, small businesses. And then lastly, back to the ambassadors, I just wanted to say that I know Nancy looked at the report, but if you don't look at anything else in the report, flip to the last 2 pages, because that shows the graffiti abatement project that the ambassadors did. There's also a video about it on the WDI Facebook page that shows in quick time, one of those kind of sped up videos, the ambassadors removing the graffiti in the NC dot, the railway corridor between 3rd and 4th. They did a fantastic job of that, taking off all of that graffiti. And, some of it was just really an eyesore. And I mean, as that area of North 4th continues and the bridge is lit now, and as it's just a nice area. And it was great to see the ambassadors really improve that through removing all of that graffiti. So just wanted to say thanks, and that the MSD, I think, does a lot of good things. And that was one that was very visible this month.
Okay, any questions for Holly? I've got one, Holly. Where's the money come from that you're loaning out?
The money comes from a community development block grant that was in the 80s. The city had given to WDI. It was DARE then, so it was like in the 80s, to assist developers downtown. It was the community development block grant money was to be loaned out in first 50, and then they raised it to $100,000 increments to developers to do tenant improvements to get businesses in. So like if someone wants to put a restaurant or an office or something in their building, then they could refurbish it, fix it up with this 52 and then $100,000. We had $568,000 sitting there in the account whenever I got here in January. And so Tom Davis is our chair as our treasurer for WDI, and he and our executive committee had been working on putting together this microloan program whereby instead of directly benefiting the developers, because developers aren't interested in $100,000, they need millions of dollars. Really we wanted to see it go to use directly helping the businesses themselves. So they restructured it. We have a company, CFCU, a credit union that does our underwriting for us. So WDI does not take the financial information. We only qualify that, yes, this is a business and they're in a qualified area of downtown or adjacent districts. And then we give the contact information to our person that's our loan officer at CFCU. And then they do the underwriting. So we don't, have anything to do with we don't pick and choose. So let me just put that right out there. But the people have to go through a qualification process, but it's very fast. It's an online process. So we've been closing these loans in 2 weeks, and it's great. We've, like I said, 4 of them already done, and we're looking to try to put the money, instead of just sitting there in an account getting whatever, like a 0.5% interest or less. Let's put it out there where it can do some good. So it was a CDBG money.
Huh. I remember I was on the DARE loan committee back in the 80s. Same money, huh? People paid it back? Oh, wow.
Yeah,
Right,
Jim, people paid it back. And the funny thing is, I got that question whenever I went to council to ask about, what about the, people paying this back. And you guys, so good for you and the group at DARE, because you did a good job on making sure that people repaid, because it was a revolving loan fund money, and there was, still a good amount of money in the fund.
Yeah, wow. Things change and then they don't change. Anything else? Is that it?
Yeah, Holly, is there any status on the alley improvement program?
Yeah, the alley improvement program, I think I'm gonna punt this one to Eris, but McAdams, I guess, is still working on the programming and the study of the alley. So we don't have any. I get reporters calling me that want to see like what we've already done in the alley, and I'm like, whoa, we're still at the planning stage. So Eris, you want to talk about where McAdams is?
Yeah, that's Eric. I guess you're going to do the city part of the reports, right, Eric?
Mm-hmm.
And
You
you'll
ready?
include the alleys. Okay, thank you.
Sure. Yes.
Go. This is city
right.
report. We're done.
Yep. The
I'm listening to Holly. This is like the 3rd hour. I was there at lunch.
the alley survey is complete. They're compiling the results and are setting up a meeting with me within the next 2 weeks to kind of go over those results and see what the outcome was. So that's where we are with that. Hopefully by your next meeting, we will have some additional information for you. One of the things I want to share with you, I know this is, and I'm going to share my screen if you don't mind, just for 1 second. This item is something that I know you've been concerned about, and this is the Plexi Pave. This right here is at the 0 block of South Front Street. This is where we did the test area of the Plexi Pave. I would encourage you to, if you can, take a look at it. This is what we will be looking at doing the treatment to the tree wells. So if you look at the tree that's with the yellow car, you could see more of the base is covered than the one that doesn't have anything. That's one of the challenges with this application, is that it doesn't do well covering the obstructions of the trees that, don't have a flat root base. But this is what this will look like for this type of application. And I just wanted to bring it up to y'all to show you where we are. We are looking to get a price within the budget that you guys had already established to do additional trees downtown. But I just wanted to kind of give you a visual of what has been done in our test areas and what that looks like. Are there any questions?
Hey, Eris, I saw this. I worked Friday night and noticed it for the first time, and I thought it looked great. That even with that large root ball, that it still gave a little bit more. I don't know if that's like a foot or a half a foot more walking space instead of walking down into that area, especially late at night when the bars are open, when you've got crowded sidewalks. I think it at least adds a little bit extra to that sidewalk, regardless.
Thank you.
Yep.
Any other questions for that? I've got one, Eris. One thing we discussed was some sort of a wooden or maybe metal frame around a tree like this that could be become a planter, or that you could sit in. I noticed the cigar store, somebody removed that one. I don't know whether that was the city that did that or what happened, but that seemed like a good, for some of these really bad ones, it seemed like a way to protect the public from it and also provide a place to sit.
I don't think they were able to be permitted. I don't think those structures were permitted, in this area. So we did not look at those. We looked at the Plexi Pave because that's what the study was looking at, but did not look at those because they had not been permitted. I think one that was done by the cigar shop wasn't even permitted. I think they just did it, and then when they moved, they just moved it.
All right,
There is
any other questions?
I have a question.
Uh-huh.
The color, is that standard? Can we possibly get a green color to spruce it up some?
I can check into that.
Okay.
Anyone else? I don't see anything else on our agenda. Does anybody have anything else? I'm waiting for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Motion.
Second
Second.
motion. No, me.
All in favor?
Who did the second?
Cap.
Kathy, okay.
Really? Okay.
We all set?
Yes, sir.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Oh, wait a minute. Wait, before y'all go,
Yes, sir.
hold on. I just wanted to let you know, while we're meeting virtually today, we may not,
6 months from now.
we may not meet virtually in the future.
Yeah.
We're not sure. One of the challenges is even though we have places to meet in the city, we have limited opportunities. So please kind of stand by. As soon as we figure this out, I will let you know. But right now, we just haven't figured that piece out, and we didn't get it figured out for this meeting.
Necessary.
Okay,
So I'll keep you posted, but right now, we're just trying to figure out locations.
okay, thanks,
Okay.
Iris.
All right, thank you.
Thank
We're out
you.
of here.
Bye-bye.
Thinks it's
Bye.
necessary. I probably ought to do it.
Everyone.
Yes, that's correct. It is. That's right.